What up, though, people? Thank you for returning to the Lion's Roar vlog. We are on chapter 35 of the first book of Adam and Eve. Two books of Adam and Eve. We're on book 1 right now. Everything's posted on my page in the playlist entitled The Books of Adam and Eve. It goes from the introduction all the way up to where we are now. I strongly suggest that you go listen to the rest of the book and then listen up to where we are first. But if you jump in here and you choose to play this video out and listen, I still strongly suggest that you go back and listen all the way up to where we are now, because you're going to hear things that you may not understand. We're going to pick up right here where we are. Remember, in the previous chapter and in the previous video, Adam has just petitioned to the Spirit of the Most High concerning food and drink. Okay. They are hungry, they are thirsty, they are starting to realize, as they have transitioned from the garden to real life, like regular life, what they're supposed to be, what they've gotten cursed to do. We're starting to see that they don't really necessarily know how to go gather food, and they're worried about pulling fruit off the tree, because the last time they pulled some fruit off the tree, it caused the problem of humanity. Okay, so we're on chapter 35. Adam just got done petitioning to the Spirit of the Most High about food and eat, and let's see what the Most High says. Let's see what happens. All right. Then God looked again upon Adam, upon the first man, and his weeping and groaning, and the word of the Most High came to him and said unto him, O Adam, when you were in my garden, you knew neither eating nor drinking, neither faintness nor suffering, neither leanness of flesh, nor change, nor did you sleep, or I'm sorry, neither did sleep depart from your eyes. But since you transgress it, since you did the wrong thing that I told you to, since then, and came into this strange land, all of these trials have come upon you. So we're moving into chapter 36 now. Then the Most High commanded the cherub. So the Spirit just told Adam, because remember, Adam was praying. Adam went through like everything he could remember up to where they are, about like the major events, and he like, look, man, this happened, that happened. I don't really know what I'm doing. We hungry. What am I like? This is crazy, right? So let's continue to see what happens. Chapter 36. Then the Most High commanded the cherub who kept the gate of the garden with a sword of fire in his hand to take some of the fruit of the fig tree and give it to Adam. The cherub obeyed the command of the Most High God, or of the Lord God, or of the highest one, and went into the garden and brought 2 figs on 2 twigs, each fig hanging to its leaf. They were from 2 of the trees among which Adam and Eve hid themselves when God went to walk in the garden. And the word of the Most High came to Adam and Eve and said unto them, Adam, Adam, where art thou? And Adam answered, Oh, here I am. When I heard the sound of you and your voice, I hid myself because I am naked. Now, right here is very interesting, because when we read in the beginning, towards the beginning of the books of Adam and Eve, that particular instance is given to us in a very different way. It almost hints at the fact that the Spirit was not literally walking around the garden. It hits at it. So I often wonder if even in translation at this point, if things had already started to become about cultural appropriation, then that's where we start to see the change from, this spiritual sort of talk, this energetic sort of talk, like meaning when he walked through the garden, it was more metaphorical for that the Spirit rested there, and it was there, and it was communicating with them, trying to figure out like why they are not on the same frequency that they were to be found on before. Why did I have to come down here to this frequency to find y'all? Where are you at? You could, and they couldn't have hid per se. So it's just very interesting to me that all of a sudden, because with the English angle, it's always, the fig trees. They use the leaves and the things from the fig trees to cover their bodies up. Oh, but then there's a point where it literally says in the books of Adam and Eve, I had to cover you with this skin because you didn't have a body. You didn't have a body that allowed you to be able to move through this particular plane of existence that you got commanded to because you transgressed. You didn't have that body. Remember, it says this. He says, I had to put the skin on you, which allowed you to be cold and hot. That's the body. So what do we do? Does it happen twice? You see what I'm saying? Is it layered, and we're just and maybe in the culture that has been the one who has been teaching this thing so heavy from their angle, they're not telling us that. And maybe they're just only playing one specific angle. Or when you read something like this book of Adam and Eve, and you see all these explosive metaphors and all these things that kind of start making sense, then all of a sudden you're seeing what you're used to hearing. Oh, the fig tree, they use the fig tree things to cover up their little private parts, and the nipples and all the little stuff, the parts that the booties and all. I'm sorry, I don't even know how else to say it. They had to cover up all those parts of things. Is that really it, that they were physically naked? Or is that more metaphorical for they were not where they were always, where the spirit always found them at? The energy, the vibration, the frequency, the literal spirit that they were supposed to have been in, they weren't there. So he had to go looking for them. Like, what? Why are y'all not here in this spectrum? Why are you down here? You see what I'm saying? So anyway, that's just a side note there. I just always find those types of contradictions are very interesting to me. Because look, let's just be honest. There's a lot of people that notice these contradictions in the scriptures, and they talk about it, and they try and talk about it. And then like Christians or people that follow the scriptures or whoever, it's like they never want to deal with those contradictions. The contradictions are not there because of the Spirit of the Most High. The contradictions are there because of men wanting to control and manipulate and dominate information. That's why. So one of the things that we can do in learning and in teaching each other and in getting back to the true root of the truth of the information is to deal with the contradictions. Talk about them. Have dialogue about it. Deal with it from not only a spiritual angle but a scientific angle. Does it make sense in science? Because the science only just appropriates what the spirit has done. You can't turn science into an idol, though. That's the problem with science. Don't turn it into an idol. Don't make it higher than the spirit, because then that's where we're going to have our problem at. But if we're dealing with evolution from the standpoint of understanding that the Spirit of the Most High could have created the cells that all of this stuff started from, and they evolved from that state, and in their evolutionary states at different states of beings, maybe all the beings that were in existence at one point were all swimming just different states of being, and they all were going to transfer or transition from the realm of the atmosphere that they were in, or the realm of existence that they were in, into another. I don't know. And then it makes sense that the root of the beings could be changed in that state. So then when they do transition, they still have to deal with any transgressions or any sort of curses or any bonuses or any blessings that they get within that state, and then even moving forward into other states that they're in. Why? Because, the word is a vibration that's going to command all of the molecules and existence to follow. Words are extremely powerful. That's why we have to watch what we think about. We have to watch the meditations of our heart, because what we say out of our mouth is going to manifest. Okay? That word manifestation, they got that from the scriptures. That's one of the first places you hear about manifestation, if you've ever heard about it, is in the scriptures. It's in holy books. It's in sacred books. You know, they want to. They've taken that word in this more modern time, and they've turned it into almost like a spiritual way within itself. Oh, manifestation, manifestation. Oh, how you manifest. If you're not aligned with the spirit of the Creator, and your heart and your mind is not aligned with that spirit, and you get to talking out your mouth, you're gonna find out. But let me keep going, because I don't wanna have my commentary be dominating these videos. But I just find it very interesting that we have dealt with their states of being in a few different ways since we have been reading this. And I just find it very interesting that, you know, men always want to deal with it from just the one angle of they used the fig tree leaves to cover up their body because they were so naked and God was walking around in the garden. And it already is hinted at in some of the earlier parts of this first book of Adam and Eve, that he wasn't literally walking around in the garden, that they didn't even know what the Most High really looked like for real, because when the sun, remember this, when the sun first came up, they thought it was the Most High because of the light, the bright light. So that's already hinting at Eve. When the spirit came around, it was so bright. How could they know what he looked like? It's just like, you understand what I'm saying? How could it have been walking around? It hints at that it was hovering even in the garden, just as it was hovering in the beginning over the spirit of the over the deep, over the waters of the deep. The spirit was hovering over things before they even came into existence, as far as what they actually are to this day. You understand? So let's keep going. Okay, so I hid myself because I am naked, right? Then the cherub took 2 figs and brought them to Adam and Eve, but he threw them from afar, for they might not come near the cherub, for by reason of their flesh that could not come near the fire. Okay, so that's interesting. Now let's just take this and look at this from a very let's take this and look at this from a picturesque, sort of a metaphorical angle. This particular angel, this cherub, or this higher being, could not come near the fire because, remember, it had a flaming sword. So this could represent a blocking of getting back to the higher. Okay. So maybe this, you're giving that from afar off, meaning did that being literally throw those things to the first being, like, here you go? Or did Adam and Eve get impressed upon their mind to go find the fig tree? And once they found it, that's the spirit that is making sure they don't get back into the garden, sending them in a roundabout way to something that was once like the garden, but it ain't no more. Or maybe they took something out the garden and allowed it to be in the plane where Adam and Eve was, and so Adam and Eve was able to come against it, and it was sustenance for their spirit. Now, it doesn't say that to us. It gives us this thing in a very picturesque, metaphorical type of a way. Like they can't even come close to this being because of the fire and their bodies. But that could also be metaphorical for, we're going to keep you at bay because you're not getting back to this higher state. You're not allowed. So this cherub is going to give it to you long term, meaning the impression is going to come to you, Adam, to go find that fig tree and get you some food. The blessing is coming down from the Most High to make sure that you could do that. But, I don't know. It's interesting like that. Because were these things literally happening? Because when we read some of these things in this books of Adam and Eve and the Bible, again, these writers are highly picturesque, highly metaphorical, highly parable, sort of prophetic, meaning like there are some things that you really have to break down and deal with them from a cover. Like this is a cover. So let's get into the depth and figure out what really happened. Okay, so at first, angels trembled at the presence of Adam and were afraid of him. But now Adam trembled before the angels and was afraid of them. Now that's very interesting. So at first, the angels trembled at the presence of Adam and was afraid of him. So I believe before they transgressed. And that's why Lucifer, as you will, the devil, as we've been seeing, as we've been reading, if you've been following, that's why he has some sort of issue with them. That's one of the things. Look, when you deal with this from the Quran and you deal with this from the way of Islam, it literally talks about that the Lucifer and his host, those beings under him, because he had a higher position, as we understood and as we read in the books of Adam and Eve, and as you read in the scriptures, is not only there, it's in the Quran also. You must understand the Quran starts almost the exact same way the scriptures do, because of Ishmael. Abraham's son is the progenitor of the Middle Eastern cultures. That is a fact. They followed the Hebrew way all the way up until Muhammad came in and started writing different things and deviated away from that way. It's true. But one of the things that you deal with when you deal with that way is that Lucifer and his hosts were told to bow and give reverence to the Most High's creation in man. And Lucifer said, absolutely not, I'm not bowing to them. I refuse. What do you mean bow to them? I've been here longer than them. Why should I bow to them? We're not bowing to them. We're not obeying you and giving them reference. We're not reference, reverence. I'm for what? Them? That being? Look at them. No way. I'm way more majestic than them. I'm way more better than them. We've been under you. We've been high. They've been around. Man, who can? No, we're not bowing to them. Okay. And so that was one of the issues that came with the clash of them being cast down from their high state. Because even it says, and when you read that, when you go dig into that side of things, it says that, which I'm not suggesting for anybody to do, because, obviously this is just from the angle of dealing with the scriptures, with the Hebrew scriptures and everything related to them. So the Quran is related to them on a certain level. So it has to be talked about on a certain level. It's just like what I said earlier. People are going and finding these things out on themselves in reference and research. So why do we feel like at some point those of us who follow this way don't need to deal with those contradictions? They are there. Again, it's not the spirit of the Most High. It's man who are causing these lies and little weird deceptions and manipulations, because men just love trying to manipulate and control other men. And that's really the spirit of Lucifer in them. That's really the spirit of that deceiver, of that one who plants division, iniquity, if you will. That's what it is. Okay? They who love doing that. So, it's just very interesting, some of these things and how they go down. That's just like when they got the golden rods and the myrrh and the incense, and did the angels literally bring them those things? Or was it the higher impression upon their mind that had them come across these things? Or, hey, go this way, take this route today. And they came across the incense. Then they came across the myrrh. Then they came across the golden rods. So let's just, were those the words of the Most High? Or was they literal beings? It could be. I don't know. Let's keep listening, keep reading. Okay. Then Adam drew near and took one fig, and Eve also came in and took the other. And as they took them up in their hands, they looked at them and knew they were from the trees among which they had hidden themselves. Okay. So I'm going to stop right here at chapter 37. I'm going to go ahead and jump into chapter 37 on the next video. So sometimes as we read, these things are going to start to be revealed as we continue to read. That's why it's very good for you to continue coming back and to continue press and play on these, because some things will reveal themselves as we read. Like, understand, as I read and as I leave my commentary, I'm not making anything set in stone, because as soon as something comes along and corrects my angle, if it was wrong, that's what we go with. I'm not sitting here trying to make no new doctrine or nothing like that. I'm dealing with things that need to be dealt with, because it's time for those things to be dealt with, and the Spirit knows that it's time for those things to be dealt with. So y'all come on back for chapter 37. Peace.